Today we sojourn away from the pleasant temperate climates we usually gallivant when building towns and instead frigidly trudge towards a frozen locale tucked beside some icy mountains. Creating an ice town would pose quite a challenge because the stamps available are rather limited and the subsequent colour scheme is even more so. In turn, we need to be inventive with our stamps to spruce up the place, ensuring it isn't a dull, dreary, desolate town. After choosing the town on our world map we wanted to create, we stumbled across an immediate challenge: what to do with the ground texture. So we're gonna make this ice town, this one here. And the first thing I need to figure out is, how do I do the ice? Because I don't want, this grassy green is too much, but this ice is also too much. So I need to figure out how to do the base. And I think I'm gonna put dirt down first. And then I'm maybe gonna pick like an ice layer like this to go on top, but with less opacity. And I guess I can sort of figure this out later, but yeah, okay, we're gonna have it be like this white sheet. Brimming with confidence in my choices and not at all thinking about changing it, we'd move on to giving the town its mountainous perimeters. Then we'd abseil our way onto the street/housing design where we'd sidle away from the little housing clusters we'd been getting more into, and would instead settle with sprawling streets which aligned with houses. I think for this place it might actually be interesting to have a bit more like streets. That could be kind of fun. While for me this style is straight Throwback Thursday, it's also not. I now know a lot of new techniques and am altogether better at map making in a variety of ways. So I'm able to make this old style feel like Fresh Funk Friday. This is cool beans, because while I stopped doing the style because I found one I preferred, I don't have to entirely old yellow retire a method of map making. Instead, I can bring it back into the rotation combined with some cool new tricks, giving me more cartographer tools at my disposal. Along with road design, I also needed to pick which houses would populate our little town of Erlichville, a name I purposely chose because I thought it was bad. While I considered going Nordic and using some of the Viking buildings, the snowy basic buildings would win tribute for two reasons. One, because there were more of them, so they achieved that greatly desired diversity, and two, because they better captured the energy I wanted for this place. I also said no way to architectural assimilation and decided against blending them together like I do in basically all my other towns. Mostly because the Scandinavian structures were too contrasting with our regular buildings and just not the vibe. In hindsight, I should have experimented with mixing in more non-snow buildings because the terrain in the buildings were a huge source of the blanket blue, brown, white color scheme, which was pretty gross and straight up ugh. Two adjectives I generally attempt to avoid when making maps. Now, a wise person may have improved upon this when choosing the nature to propagate around the town, but I'm a brave person and subsequently cascaded upon the problem. Okay, I think this is a bit of proof of concept so far, but I think I'm into it. This doesn't have to be the most like grandiose map ever. This can be sort of like a pretty simple snow town map that I think could maybe be fun. What I used to do a lot when I made towns is I actually would just like make a funky road design and then I would just like layer houses along that. And I haven't done that in a long time. I've sort of evolved my style, but you know, maybe it's time to go back to that style. Hurrah from the past, perhaps, could be a lot of fun. Outside of the small, super rad icy spires, we'd also place trees. A classic I usually love, except for this time where my opinion is more neutral as they very much blended into the brown-white mess the rest of the map is. The color scheme was a difficulty not really of my own making, so to get some agency back, I'd entirely fabricated an issue for myself by approaching the map's design in a less structured and layered way than I usually do. It's definitely weird putting like, I'm not really finished with the houses yet and I'm just like, oh, I'll just put down some of these ice stuff. Usually this is how I like finish off maps, but I don't know, for this one it just feels sort of natural to do it now. And I think we'll do the same thing with some trees, is we'll just sort of fill this map up with some trees. I don't think there needs to be as many trees. I don't think this needs to be like a particularly lush place that's got a ton of vegetation going on. Already looking really good, and we still have a lot to do in this map. Let's see if we can find a little bit more accoutrements to place on the map. Once again, really going in a bit of a reverse order. Not even having finished the roads, let alone have finished placing all the houses, and I'm already like, what other stuff can we put down? Maybe these like trippy mushrooms, you know, just like small little patches of these. While revoking myself of design inhibitions would have me feeling fancy-free, this would become somewhat of an issue later. When I had better ideas, as you can see, the map is already basically full, so there wouldn't really be anywhere to put them. In these situations, I can either delete some stuff and redo the work to make them fit in a way that is still hamstrung and doesn't allow the design choice to fully actualize, or I just let the idea go. Neither of these are great options and why I don't usually follow this line of laissez-faire design delineation. And I'll point out exactly where this was particularly impactful when it comes up. Before then, I'd clean up some of the basics I'd left, going through cobbling small paths to the actual doors of the buildings and double layering the roads. Both small tweaks that I feel town maps are usually empty and unfinished without. Back to stamp placing, and I'd go agricultural, weaving this choice into the town's narrative. I really like the idea of these sort of empty farm plots, which I usually am like, why the fuck would I ever use these? But I like the idea that it's like, maybe this was a bit more of a farming community, but the icy nature has been going on for like an extended period of time and they've sort of been unable to farm, right? We can just plop these plots down and I think, yeah, they just sort of extend out that barrenness. After geniusly planting another desperately needed brown stamp, my supersonic processor of a mind would finally clue into the fact that this map may be a little samey in its color scheme. At the moment, it's very blue and then brown. And that's fine, that is the energy of this place, like, you know, maybe we can leave it a bit, but if we can get some color, like just how can we get a little bit more pop for this place? And I don't know is the answer. I like all this Christmas stuff. Yeah, okay, firstly, they just added Christmas stamps. And then they have these Christmas lanterns. Ooh, okay, well, let's get a few snowmen on them like that, down. That's fun. And then I think let's get some Christmas lanterns. Let's make this a bit more of a Christmas town. They just added the stamps. They're pretty fun. So yeah, why not? Why not sidle some of these in? And this is definitely bringing a little bit more of that flave, you know, that Christmas flavor I've been looking for, because I don't think this town needs to be like super dour in disposition. During the celebration of these non-specific, clearly secular holiday stamps, I noticed the first item I'd love to place but would find difficult to do so because of my pure vibes-based approach I had done earlier. I kind of forgot to do this. Not forgot, but I forgot. It was like something I thought about and then I didn't. I think adding a few cliffs, and it's a little bit late. We're pretty deep into the process. But just like adding a few cliffs to like add that sense of depth is going to be good. So we'll just like see if we can chuck a few down without, I can undo some of the map. That's fine. Like it's not a big deal. I wish I'd added a lot more cliffs and made this whole town feel a lot more vertical. I mean, it's next to a mountain range, so a descent throughout would have made for a lot of interesting pockets, but also would geographically have made a ton of sense. Either way, I'd add mist into the mix because mountains, which was a great atmosphere setter. Then I'd click onto what would become both a pivotal decorative piece, but also a massive narrative piece for the one shot this town is built for. I think we're gonna chuck a few of these crystals on the map. It's just because we need a color to pop. It's very brown and blue, and just having a few red crystals, not like that, is gonna help a lot, you know. And what are these crystals? We don't know, but we can figure something out. The town can be built around these crystals to a degree, and they sort of like harvest them, or like these crystals provide people like powers, and there's a reason that like people have decided to settle a town in this fucking desolate location. The town was founded to harvest these rare magical crystals and grew more and more as people came to make a quick buck. Like the 1894 gold rush, but fantasy magic. I fucking love that. I think that's excellent. And I think when we create our one shot, we will 100% lean on that as an idea. That's a really, really good idea. With an awesome narrative in the bag, I ventured on the eternal quest for more color, where I would attempt and sort of succeed scouring Carnet's nursery and spreading some extra plant stamps. We'll have a few pine trees just scattered in the mix. There's a little bit of like the snowy pine trees already, but I think maybe just having a few sort of like in there like that. Okay, I might leave it, but I want a different type of, I want just a little bit more color. The red looks great, and I think we can narrativize around the red. Maybe some of these fall mushrooms, like I think, you know, we got these purple blue ones, but let's like chuck a little bit more of these in the mix. And then we'll look for something else on top of that for sure. But yeah, this is, I think, going to be a little bit of the journey of this map is how do we make an ice map, which is going to be majoritively brown and blue, look not so brown and blue. And we've done an okay job so far, but we need to do a little bit more. So These yellow bushes could be good. These might like be too much in the sense that they're just sort of like too much, right? It's going to be like quite an overwhelming power color scheme compared to some of the other elements on the map. You know, why don't they have snow on them? The trees have snow on them. The other things have snow on them. Okay, cool. It's not super overpowering. I think this is working. So we'll just keep putting them down. We won't have like too many. All these additions were giving the whole town much more pizzazz, but the building architecture was still Snore City. It was, as I had very much planned it to be, just roads with snowy buildings along them. Like, I nailed the execution, it's just the idea was a little bland to begin with. So simultaneously, my bad, but also, nice job. With this, I could no longer ignore an amazing idea which had been percolating in chat for a while. I just said, I don't know if we're gonna have space for the market, and I don't think we are, naturally. So let's just make the space. You know, let's just delete some shit and make that space. I think this is probably like a perfect candidate, but we're gonna make a little bit of a market square. So let's get rid of this. Great. For this market, I wanted to use a whole bunch of the generic winter holiday stamps. Big illuminated tree would get first billing and be center stage. We'd surround it with actually regular market stalls, then add a few perfectly wrapped presents underneath. While I liked this area, this was another occasion where I wasn't able to make it as large or significant as maybe I would have liked. My hasty work earlier in the piece, just splurging stamps onto the map willy-nilly, was once again a preventer for refined, dedicated design choices. I still liked this area though, and its addition was huge for breaking up the samey building scheme in the rest of the town, so nice stuff there. The last addition we'd make would be a visualization for the one-shot, a quest which starts with the party entering a cave that exists in town. The main cave system was gonna be here. I don't know if that really makes sense. I would prefer to have a little bit in town, or at least this tendril is in town. So I think what we're gonna do is actually, we're just gonna drop a cave onto this map, probably somewhere up here. We're just gonna make a few tweaks to that. So I think we're gonna use this one, sort of icy cave. Partnering with these mines, I'd use my brain and place some stuff that would make sense to be outside of them. Some mined ores, lumber, and even storage. Yes, very good stuff, Alex. Nice work. For this town and our one-shot, this is the main relevant location, so really giving it a lot of business makes it catch the eye, which is perfect because we want our players to be drawn to looking at the thing which is most relevant and important. With the town itself complete, it was time to give it life and fill it with actual residents. Yeah, okay, I think that looks pretty good. Something else I did not put on this map that I think is really going to help it pop is getting more people on the map. It's been something I've been doing a lot more lately, and I think it's really been adding to the whole vibe of places. One of the big challenges for this map has been sort of giving it some vibrancy and some pop. And I think adding this area here, adding the market was great, adding the red crystals was like an amazing idea, and obviously really started to impact our one-shot. But with that said, there's still a little bit of whatever sort of missing, and I think adding all these little like people onto the map is really going to like start to accentuate this out a bit more. It's going to make it feel a little bit more alive in a town that otherwise feels pretty unalive, honestly. And that's great. That's exactly what we want. Bingo, bongo, bango. That's the map, and I think it's decent-ish. Ice is a rather difficult terrain to work with, and one I've honestly never collabed with before. And the biggest takeaway for me was how monochromatic it looked. Despite this, I think we did an awesome job of weaving in stamps to bring color, eventually turning it into a more vibrant but still themed and appropriately moody town. In general, being more deliberate with my planning would have been rather useful, because when great ideas inevitably floated to the foreground later in the process, it was much harder to implement them as I would have liked. This isn't a huge deal though, and overall it's a solid map in a terrain I've never used, so 2 thumbs up from me. And that's the video. If you're interested in getting access to this map or the one-shot it's a part of, it's all available on my Patreon. Thanks to everyone who's already signed up. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!